Hey guys, my name is Fox Braun, and this is the introduction to my new YouTube channel, Martial Arts and Philosophy. And we're going to start with the philosophy segment of this channel today. So, a little bit about me. I'm from Georgia State University. I got my undergraduate in philosophy in 2009. I then went on to get my master's in geoscience in 2014. And now I live in San Diego doing neither of those things. But so it goes nowadays, I guess. So, the reason I'm doing this channel is because it's come to my attention that there are two areas where people actually talk about philosophy. There's the universities where professors exchange papers with each other and their students, and there's the family and friend circles where people talk about philosophical issues at home, things that matter to them, etc. And both of these areas are great for the primary goals of philosophy, which I think are like self-development and development of knowledge. However, they don't have the same kind of scope that I think philosophy could or should have. There's a lot of viewpoints that we're missing in universities and when we have conversations with family and friends that exist out in the real world. If you think about universities and your family and friends are going to be very small percentages of the population with a very limited amount of views. Whereas if you think about the entire world, there's tons of views and all of that out there. So, but why do we care? What do we care about that? First of all, before we get to that, I actually want to talk about what philosophy actually is. So, I want to dispel the notion that philosophy is some kind of discussion about what old white men thought thousands of years ago. So, those old white men might have some cool discussion points or topics, but that's not where it's at. I think that philosophy is actually just the critical and consistent questioning of our own beliefs and the beliefs of others. And that's something that we all do daily. The reason it's important is that beliefs determine choices which are in turn going to determine your fate and the fate of others. So an example of that is on like a grand scale, you can think about the Crusades. You got two opposing belief groups, Islam, Christianity, running into each other, fighting over some random land in the Middle East that doesn't seem that important. It's all about their ideologies. Thousands of people fought and died for these ideologies. Of course, there might be some socio-political concerns, but the average soldier that was participating in those battles was driven by their beliefs. And that just shows you the power of those beliefs. On a smaller scale, you make decisions, philosophical decisions, every day. Like when you're thinking about whether or not you should lie to somebody. Say your friend has this coat, and you think the coat is stupid. You think my coat's stupid. So you can tell me that, but you might think that that's unkind, or that's going to make me unhappy, and that's going to affect me. That decision is going to affect me. Or you might think, well, maybe I should tell him that because if other people think that his coat's stupid, they might tell him in a much harsher way later, and that's going to be bad. So I should tell him now. But either way, by making that consideration and going through with that, your philosophical consideration has directly affected your action, which is directly now affecting my happiness and potentially your happiness. Maybe you feel guilty about it later, etc. Those are all based off of your initial philosophy. Which is why it's so important. It's the foundation of everything that we do as human beings when we make reasonable decisions about things. One more example that's near and dear to my heart that I'm going to get into more later is the concept of animal rights. We make decisions whether or not we're going to eat meat every day. Some people don't think about it, and you go out and you buy a hamburger, and what's the big deal? So, on the one hand, if animals aren't conscious, or they're not valuable in the way that we're valuable, then you haven't done anything wrong. On the other hand, if you're wrong, and it's true that animals are conscious beings that experience thereabouts what we experience and are valuable in the way that we are valuable, then you've committed some kind of great wrongdoing because you've now paid somebody, essentially, to go assassinate that animal for you, and you're now complacent and what we would normally consider to be some kind of crime. Except our society doesn't consider it that way. But it's still a gigantic ethical issue. So you can see how that very small level decision that you're making is affecting the very lives of these animals. like I said, whether or not that is important, we'll have another discussion about later. But you can see the chain. So with that said, I think that gives you a pretty good idea of what this channel is going to be about. The goal is going to be to promote widespread philosophical discussion in the capital T truth, and thereby live in a manner that is more beneficial to ourselves and others. I had to write that one down because there's no way I'd remember that off the top of my head and speak it well to the camera. That's why I needed this whole packet thing. But that's the goal of the channel. It's kind of romantic. Capital T truth is something that, I think that the oldest kinds of philosophers thought existed. Some people have their doubts nowadays. But I think that it's a good goal to pursue that and get as close as possible to it because it's going to help us be better people and make more positive change in the world as opposed to acting on false beliefs, which, as I previously stated, could really hurt people. So we're going to have discussions about ethics, but I don't want to limit it to that. Everything matters. Philosophy of mind matters, like we were talking about, whether animals are conscious or not, and that can affect your ethical decisions about animals. Those metaphysical concerns are equally important because they all feed together. It's like everything else on this planet. So I want everyone to think about the kind of philosophical concerns they have on a daily basis. So, like, what do you care about? What do you think about? What really bugs you? Do you have something that you thought about the other day that you don't know if you should do it or not? Or what kind of considerations come to your mind on a daily basis? I want to bring up as many of those issues as possible, and then we can talk about some of them. I have some of my own. If nobody else says anything, I'm going to continue to do this anyway, because that's me. But if you have some, we can address those too. And hopefully we can get a comment section talking about it. Because the one other point I'm going to make before I end this is I'm just as concerned about promoting a discussion about this as I am just spouting off my viewpoints at it. I want to try to be more of a facilitator than just a, dry philosophy text just telling you what I think. So there you have it. That's how we're going to proceed with this thing. So tell me some of your philosophical concerns, and we'll get started. And until next time, I'm Fox, and I'll see you later.